People find different ways to get motivated. For me, I get motivated to watching movies. Think of a time you saw a movie where you were really inspired by the time you got to the end. There's three movies that I've seen in my life that have had a great impact on me. When I was a kid, I grew up in a small city in New Jersey that was pretty rough. To keep me safe, my mom really sheltered me, didn't really expose me to a lot of things. I was very uncoordinated as a kid also because of that reason. So there was a time I was playing tag in the schoolyard with some of my friends, and one of them tagged me in the back, and I fell face first and cut my face open. So when I got home, I talked to my dad and asked him if there was any way I could learn to defend myself. So the next day, he took me to find a taekwondo school, and we found one. I fell in love with taekwondo at the time because of the discipline involved. And there's a part of taekwondo where you have to put pads on and spar with people pretty much your size, so you can put into practice what you're learning. The first time I sparred, I got hit pretty hard and it hurt because I'd never been exposed to it before. So I wanted to give up. My dad showed me a movie called Best of the Best, and in that movie, it's about five Americans that come together and they go up against a Korean team. Koreans are pretty much the founders of Taekwondo, so they're the favorites in that sport. The tournament was in Korea, so the team gets together and they work hard every day to go fight against these experts. When they get there, there's five matches and they get pretty close to getting to where you need to be. When they get to the end, they fall short on points. At the end of the tournament, when they're giving the medals to the Koreans go over and give a medal one by one to the Americans, saying that they deserved it, they respected them for going that as far as they did. One big part I took out of that movie was that no matter how hard you try, sometimes you're gonna fall short, but you always have to give it your best. When I was doing Taekwondo, my teacher was actually a police officer, and he was a role model for me growing up. So I decided when I finished high school to take criminal justice classes to become a police officer. When I was a police officer, there were times where I ran across situations that weren't what they teach you in the academy. In the academy, everything's black and white in a book. On the street, everything is gray. So there were times where I came across situations and needed kind of a moral compass to make the right decision. There was a movie I saw called Serpico that was about a cop from the 60s and 70s during a time when the NYPD was very corrupt. During that time, um, Serpico had to make certain decisions that weren't really popular with his coworkers. One decision was they handed him money, saying, "Here, this is your $300 for being part of our team." The money was stolen from drug dealers. So Serpico told them, "Hey, I don't take money. I'm not that kind of guy." So they put the money away, and he ends up being blacklisted in the agency. No one trusts him because he won't take money. So there were times during my career where I came across decisions where I had to make decisions, and I would ask myself two questions: what would Serpico do, and how would I want my family treated if they were dealing with a police officer in this situation? After all those, when I asked myself those questions and answered them, I always made the right decision, and I was able to lay down at night with a clear conscience. In law enforcement, there's a high divorce rate because it's a very stressful job, and oftentimes people bring their stress home. Um, I was lucky to meet my wife before I got into law enforcement. She was very supportive. So I compare our love to like the movie Titanic with Jack and Rose, where they meet they're very young, and their love is pure. And although their love only lasted for a couple days because of their crash, it lasted a lifetime. Rose says that she's loved him for 84 years. There's a scene in the movie that my wife talks about where Rose is floating on the door and Jack's in the water. She says if it were us, that either we both would have been on the door or we both would have been in the water and froze to death. These three movies have had a big impact on my life, and I hope that you guys have movies that inspire you the way these movies inspired me. Thank you for your time. Introduce yourselves to the camera, please.
Francis.
Kaylee.
Tiffany.
Ashley.